What's going on, everybody? It's Brian Tripp. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Live podcast, where we interview the very best real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and business leaders all throughout the country. And today is no different. I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Jonathan Brazer. How's it going today, Jonathan?
What's up, man? Excited to be here, and thanks for the invite.
Excited to have you. Just learned about you through a mutual friend.
Mhm.
I've known, Chuck, who's been on our show. We've talked to Chuck before numerous times, and he's been to Birmingham. He's spoken here, Chuck Bauman, and I
Mhm.
just want to kind of really, in the same mold, kind of really talk about what I think, and you probably would agree, is some of the most important things that we can talk about that don't get talked about.
Sure,
So I
absolutely.
really want to talk about today, you know, I've got scores of videos on our YouTube channel, scores of podcasts on how to wholesale, how to flip houses, how to do a lease option, a subject to. We know how to do all that stuff. You've got the tactics. The tactics are like 10% of it. It's this other stuff that we're going to be talking about today that is 90% of it, in my opinion, that doesn't get talked about enough. And the reason, in my opinion, Jonathan, I want to bring you in and get your opinion on this. The reason it doesn't get talked about is because it doesn't sell. It's not
Mm,
sexy. What do you think?
right. Yeah, absolutely. And everybody wants to know how to become a millionaire is the deal. And what they don't realize is that lots of times there's a journey that has to take place along the way for them to get out of their own way so that that abundance can come to them. So they want this magic pill and maybe not to do the work. And doing work isn't sexy, right? But really everything good comes from, the grind, not the grind, but school of hard knocks a little bit. Thomas Edison, I think, once said it was adversity and hard knocks that got him to be where he was, and that a man who has a hard beginning that's a real benefit to him, and that's what you hear in so many success stories. But a lot of people use that as a crutch, right, rather than fuel. So
Yeah.
I would say that the magic pill is understanding the process and sticking to it and not giving up when you meet with that adversity. It's said that 1 in 10,000 continue past 2 or 3 failures. And what I can say is surrounding yourself with the right people, getting in the right programs, that can help you to push past that 2 and 3 times.
1 in 10,000?
1 in 10,000.
I have
Yeah.
to tell you, that's interesting. And I've already wrote a couple of notes that I want to ask you about, but that right there is interesting from the fact that I've had massive failure in my life. Recent
Congratulations, brother.
3 or 4 like big, gigantic things. And I was knocked down and I was
Mm,
out.
mm,
And it took time,
mm-hmm,
but I feel like I didn't have a choice but to get back
mm,
up. And I'm trying, as you said that, I'm like trying to think like why have I been able to get back up so many times? And
mm.
all that's come into my mind is my network of people that I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, they hold you accountable, right? They help you to be more. They help you to step over the obstacle and make it the way, right? Is
I love
that the obstacle is the way. There's an opportunity in every seed of failure. It's one of the things I talk about. My background is that I was in the Marine Corps. When we come to a Y in the road as a Marine, we know which way to go. It's to the left. We do everything to the left. We shave the left side of our face first. We tie our left shoe. We step off with our left foot. Here's why. We have to have a process, because if we're trying to breach a door and clear a room, if we go the wrong way or if we pause kills people, and pause in life kills people too. And
it.
so taking that left, the right, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt. He said, the best thing you can do is always the right thing. The second best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing is nothing. We got a lot of people in our world today doing nothing. They're just waiting for the next shoe to fall, next surprise in the media. Like, they don't know what to expect rather than taking action. But let me show you how, when you go to the Y in the road, going the wrong way can be to your benefit. You now know it's not the way. you can knock that one off the list. It comes from trial and error. I don't know the exact number because I get different books tell me different things, but Thomas Edison, someplace between 6 and 10,000 times failed at getting that light bulb to work. Even took Watson's beard and put it in between the two filaments to see if it would light up. Had he given up, maybe we're talking in the dark today, right? So a lot of people get snuffed out by their idea getting hole shot in. And Thomas Edison was not that kind of person. But who has that resilience to stay at it 10,000 times after he failed? When asked at the end, he said, how is it that you succeeded? His answer, I ran out of things that didn't work. And I think eventually all of us do that.
So funny to me that you bring up Thomas Edison. I literally just got done 2 days ago listening to a podcast. I listen to history podcasts a lot.
Yeah.
And I listened to a full episode on him.
Yeah.
It was just on nothing but his life and the story of his life. It was like an hour and a half long. I just did that a couple of days ago. And
he's amazing. Somebody maybe, you should have, if you it's a good guy to study and understand his philosophies and how he worked. Somebody that does that, studying of him, Elon Musk. So there's another guy, and you may be familiar with, Nikola Tesla. Mm-hmm. Now, worthy of naming his car company after him, but Elon Musk says between the two, though today, Nikola Tesla is responsible, they say, for 80% of the technology that we use. But he says who he respects more is Thomas Edison, because Nikola Tesla didn't get it to market. He wasn't the entrepreneur side. He couldn't take it across the finish line. Where Thomas Edison, he is responsible for, there's a lot of patents out there by Nikola Tesla, but Thomas Edison monetized them.
And that was a big thing for him. Not that we need to do a podcast on Thomas Edison, but that was important to him because the usefulness. He was coming up with all these inventions, and everyone was like, so for instance, he came up with a voter counting machine. Mm-hmm. None of the politicians wanted the voter counting machine because they were doing a lot of stuff they shouldn't have been doing.
Sure, absolutely.
So it never went to market. And he's just like, how can
sound like politicians?
Yeah, exactly. The next thing I invent, it has to be commercially viable. It has to be. And that was his, it's really interesting that you brought that up right after I got done listening to that. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to the Marine Corps.
Yes.
You're in the Marine Corps. How long were you in the Marines?
4 years. I was in from 91 to 95. So I'm a Gulf War veteran. Did the Somalia thing.
Wow. Thank you.
Good
Thank
for
you
the
for service.
experience.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Hoorah. No problem.
I was an 11 to 15-year-old boy when you were in the Marine Corps. And I remember, CNN, that's when CNN was the only place you could go to see what was going on. And it was obviously an enormous deal at the time. But besides learning the process of always going to the left and we're always doing something, someone used to tell me that, if you stand still, obviously you're going nowhere. But if you're walking, even if you're walking in the wrong direction, at least you're moving. And all you have to do now is just turn. You don't have to do anything else but turn. And now you're possibly walking in the right direction. But to actually get up and move requires something that a lot of us don't have. Some of us just don't have that in us. How can we get that out of us to start moving? When we might be paralyzed with fear, might be paralyzed with something from our past. We're paralyzed and we can't move. What can get us to move?
Well, I've had a lot of success with that from masterminds, being, like we said, involved with the right groups. So motivation goes so far, right? But you can get beat up. But when you got a chance to bounce it off somebody and realize lots of times it was for you rather than to you, then and maybe design custom for you to grow from. So my son, we just sold my mom's house. My mom had a stroke. My dad passed away, and he was out climbing a tree. It was a house that she grew up in. He was out climbing a tree that I once climbed. It was an evergreen, and he came down and he scuffed his hand. He had skin detached, you know. By the way, I know you got a daughter, Madeline, and a son too. My daughter's named Madeline, so it's just kind of cool. Anyway, so my son Miles, he comes in, he's crying. My sister takes him, puts his hand under the water, and then he comes back. He said, "Dad," he says, "you know, I didn't cry though." He was shaking, but he said, I didn't cry. I said, "That's probably because you know you got stronger from that." He said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And I said, "You see this?" And I showed him this hard skin, this calloused part of me, right? And I said, that's probably from that very tree that I climbed at one time. And it grows back stronger, and it's less likely to happen again to us. So I can say that one thing that we have that we've put together in our process, and I want to talk to you about process for a second too, but is we have some tech that we've added to the coaching process that really helps people to measure how far they've come, whether they're getting success, why and why not that they're getting success. And it's kind of a habit tracker, but it allows us to have insight into how their performance has been and what to do to improve it along the way. And we kind of married a technology that we found from the fitness industry when we took on some really big goals, a number of us, and we found that there was a guy out there, and he's going to be speaking at an event that we're having here in October. His name is John Zarbach. He's a major in the Army. And anyway, he had this technology for working out. So he had a gym, but it's a studio gym. What it did is it tracked your last best effort. So you were only competing against your last best version of yourself. And I can tell you that I got tremendous gains from that. Well, that's what in accountability for us was always missing from the programs that we'd been in and even been coaches in. Was there was accountability, but how could you measure whether you improved and were you on the steps of the process to get to the success that you were looking for, the thing that you most desired? And when you have that track record in front of you that you can see, it's a real advantage to folks to be able to get the results that they're looking for, but faster.
Yeah. You mentioned motivation, and motivation's fleeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I mean, motivation, I think it was David Goggins who was talking about you can get hyped up and motivated. I'm going to go outside and run 10 miles. It's freezing cold outside. I'm psyching myself up. The moment you open up that door and that wind hits you in the face, that motivation is gone. You have to actually, there has to be something else. What is that something else? Because you mentioned people and you mentioned accountability, and I see that and I get that. There's just, it's almost like I was on a call with someone earlier today where he started talking about, you know, your why, like understanding your why. And he's like, that's BS. Your why, the why doesn't matter. It's the how. If you can help with the how, the why takes care of itself. I need to know the how to do it. Do you see any power in that? Do you see any validity in that?
So I don't know who it was that you were with earlier, but I actually have a different opinion. I'd reverse that. So I think people get way too caught up in the tyranny of how. And so often it comes in a way that we don't expect. That the why is the important thing. That's the eye on the prize. That's where your motivation comes from. Is your purpose? Have you created it into a statement where it's a burning desire inside you for you to get it, and that you'll step over those obstacles. You'll meet that wind. There's a process. You know, you're from Alabama, right?
I was already about to bring this up. If you're ever going to start talking about Nick Saban.
I am going to talk about Nick Saban.
I was already going to
bring the process.
I was already going to bring it up. I already have it highlighted down here. We're already going to talk about Nick Saban.
So the most winningest coach in all football, right?
That little crimson folder that's right there on that top shelf.
I see it.
Class of 2004.
I kind of thought you might know a little something about him. So if you were to talk to any of his guys, he would talk about the process. And what he attributed the process was not thinking about the championship. This is my understanding and studying him. Not thinking about the I'm going to win the game. It was thinking about, I'm going to win this play. It was thinking about, I'm going to give it all, being in the moment and enjoying that moment, whether it hurts or not, is I need to do this rep the best I can, not I'm going to be the champion.
Yep.
And if you ask any of his, the guys he coached, right, that's what they would say. It's the process. It's the process. Yeah. So process and systems. And just like for Mr. Savins, I would say that there's a success leaves clues. And we've been studying the success of our students for a long time. And now we have track record. We have hard data inside our platform that we can say, hey, if you even do it at 80%, this is the kind of result that you'll get. And that really gives people a leg up.
So the argument, that going back to the how versus the why, the argument was, you can have, and it can be, I'm doing this for my kids. It could be whatever. But if I don't know how to do it for my kids, if I don't know how to do this thing, then how can I ever do it for them? How could I ever, I need to know the first step to take. What do I do first?
Well, I think that's where having a coach and a mastermind folks come around you can be successful. I mean, I didn't know the first time I ever did a deal on a mobile home. I didn't know anything about it. Frankly, at the time, my coach didn't, but there was a guy in my group that did, and I spent an hour and a half with him on the phone and made 13 grand in my first deal, right? Like in a week, because I followed a process that was successful. There's no lack of how out there. There's 1,000 different ways. You can find it. There's a YouTube video tell you 10 different ways of how, but don't limit yourself, because a lot of times people, have you ever wanted something and then it came to you in a different way than you expected?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we only were concentrating on the how rather than the thing, right? The desire, then we would have maybe missed that opportunity.
I'm with you. I'm just curious now, just taking it a step further.
Sure.
So many people don't know why, purpose, don't have the motivation, don't have the whatever, don't have the why. I don't know what it is. I don't know. How do I figure that out?
We got a process for that too. And I know you've had folks on here that talked a lot about vision, and that's really what it comes down to. Is we make all of our students write out a vision for what they want in the categories of their life. And if they can wave a magic wand and it just manifests, what would that be? What's the perfect version of that to be? That helps to uncover their why quite a bit. So I will tell you that one of the things that we've put together, and I know that you're going to be I'm told that you're going to be a speaker at it, is an event that we have coming up in October 27th through 29th here in St. Louis area. And it's called the Enliven event. And there's going to be people coming, and we're going to have we expect around 200 folks in the room. And you're going to be one of our speakers. I think I heard you're talking on life's ROI. I'm not positive. So that's a little.
The ROI of life. Yep.
ROI of life. But we're going to take people on a journey that from start to finish helps them uncover what they desire, helps them uncover what the possibilities are. Hearing stories about somebody else doing it ahead of you starts to take some of those limiting beliefs and knock them down for you. You start to realize, oh, I can have that too. If that person did it, I can have it too. And I grew tons from being involved in 3-day boot camps. My very first one, right? It's an inflection point in your life. It's like when somebody passes away, that's a great man in your family. That's an inflection point. That says, man, look at this line out the door at this funeral. How am I going to have that? How am I on track for my life? And you take action then towards becoming a better person, right? So with the process of doing your vision, and people will leave the event with at least a 0 or first draft of vision. It's an organic thing, so it changes over time. I'm probably on like the 8th version of mine. And why I say that is because I got the first 7. They became, but that was the process. Write it down, design it how you would want it if you could wave the magic wand. And the how came. The how came plenty of times in ways I wasn't expecting. So people get caught up in that tyranny of how a little bit too much. I agree. They need the first step. And that's something that when we know what we know where they're at and we know where they want to go, important things, right? Be real with yourself. Where are you at? Now, where do you want to go? What is ideal for you? Then we can design the plan in the middle. But without the why, it's like a ship leaving a harbor with no captain and, just pushing the boat and pushing the gas. 99% of the time, that thing is going to sink. It's not going anyplace. But if you have a destination, well, we can plot a course there. And it's only a matter of making little tweaks along the way to ensure that you arrive.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily the destination. It's the why am I even going to that destination?
Right.
Who's to say? I mean, this has happened for me. I think I know exactly why I'm doing something. And it's like, you know what? I don't really care about that anymore. It wasn't a very strong, compelling reason for me to do something. There's some people, Jonathan, that I don't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do the same thing, live the same routine over and over and over. And this is my life. There are real people that have those real kind of issues.
I've got to work with some of them. We had a woman. We have a woman in our group, and she couldn't leave her bed. Like you said, she watched TV 18 hours a day. She was depressed. Now, fast forward, and she through the process uncovered her why, and now somebody who is almost a recluse standing in front of 10,000 people on a healing crusade, laying hands on people and uncovering that her gift is of healing. And she's been able to go on mission trips and uncover her why. It's a strong desire to help others. And so I see you're ready to ask me something else.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you, based on that story, have you seen it in your experiences that people's whys, the why, ends up usually involving helping someone else?
Yeah. So I'm going to speak to my own self. So I used to be a bit chubby, out of shape, and it should be why enough that we get ourselves in shape for our wife, for our kids, for our family. And I'd love to tell you that was the case for me, but I'd be lying. And if I lie to you once, what am I? So, right. That's right. I'm a liar. So what I want to do is be honest and tell you that wasn't my why. It wasn't until one of my students set a big fitness goal. And again, it was an opportunity to help him and take a journey with him. So myself and another coach sat in a room during a one-day visit with him, and he had a list of things that he wanted to accomplish. And we said, what is the one thing on here that you think would make the most difference? And he said, if I got in shape for competition to be stage ready, like I was when I got married. And I said, okay. He said, well, what does that look like? His definition, what does that look like? And then I can say that the other coach and myself, we like to take journeys with people. I call myself a journey coach. I take people on journeys. And so from Spartan races to events like I'm about to describe here, but he said, well, if I could do a physique competition. And so it is not at all in my vision or in my desire to ever walk across stage in some board shorts and flex my muscles for somebody.
So you said board shorts. I thought you were
I'm
going to a completely different place there.
No, I'm not going to wear. I'm not going to wear the bikini. No, sir. No. But the board shorts. So it's not my desire. In fact, I'm modest in that I wouldn't want to really be out there like that. Not in my beliefs, but what is in my belief is helping my student. So when he was on the fence about whether he should do that or not, we both put our hands in and said, listen, man, if you'll do it, we'll do it. And we took the journey with them. And so November 6th, we're going to be, so right after our event, we're going to be, it's turned into 19 people. I told you I like to take people on journeys with me. So what started as 3 of us sitting in a room saying we're going to do something now is 19 people that are going to be in the best shape of their life on November 6th.
And all that comes down to accountability, it sounds like.
Correct.
Brotherhood. I was on the phone with somebody in your neck of the woods this morning, Mr. Joe McCall.
Oh, I love Joe.
I was on the phone with him this morning. He's like, yeah, I've been working out for the past 3 weeks. And I'm like, congratulations. That's incredible. That's an incredible accomplishment. And he said, well, I'm only doing it because I'm doing it with 4 or 5 other people, and we're all doing it together, and I'm having a lot of fun with them. And I don't necessarily like the workouts, but they've made it fun. It's an accountability thing. And so there's a lot of power in that, it seems like.
A lot of power in being part of something. And that's what everybody's looking for, really, is to be part of something, whether a community, whether a movement, whether, and hence that's why you see going on in the media. We won't go that tangent, but be part of something that's good and that's improving themselves. And what our goal from being coaches is to help people find the perfect life, make them the best versions of themselves. And frankly, it makes me better when I get to coach people that are on that path, because I have to step my game up. I have to stay steps ahead of them. To be a leader, I have to just, the Lord throws some curveballs my way. And I used to think, wow, everybody gets in that mindset every once in a while. Why is this happening to me? But I realize it's happening for me. And sometimes it's for me to help someone else. And that's all too often now. And so I didn't get vulnerable with people in the past and say, hey, it used to be, I wanted everybody to think I had it all figured out, that I had it all together from the front of the room. Yeah. But actually, when I tell them about my hangups and challenges that I had and giants that I either have slayed or am still working on slaying, man, you wouldn't believe how people begin to open up and get vulnerable themselves and drop walls and break their chains.
Yeah. A lot of power.
A lot of power in there. Sure is.
Jonathan, you mentioned Enliven, and I'm, incredibly honored to be just a tiny little, part of it. And I'm excited to come there. I've been to St. Louis many times. I have a lot of mutual friends probably. In St. Louis. I'm excited to be there, but give us a little bit more of a taste. You talked about vision, talked about, the 9-step, is that the 9-step sales process? What's the process?
Yeah. You know what? That is a process. I don't think that we're going to be teaching. We're going to be teaching that in the event.
What's the process? You said you were going to do some go through a process with folks.
Oh yeah. So what we plan to do is to take people on a journey. Okay, and that journey is going to be meeting. We got about I think you're one of 12 speakers lined up to share their experiences, their hacks, some great knowledge they're going to drop on them. And so you're wondering about the how. We're going to show you some how along the way. We're going to show you, but importantly, we're going to help you to uncover your why. And we have a process for that too, for uncovering your why. So there's going to be some homework to do, but it's not going to be hard. It's going to be very fulfilling. And I could tell you that will, I would guarantee folks call this an inflection point in their life, a place that changed the trajectory of where that they were going. And maybe the path got them on a path that they designed rather than living somebody else's vision.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to meet you in person. I'm excited to be in that room full of people who either, a lot of them are obviously going to share a lot of commonalities. And there's going to be some people in that room that need to be in that room.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're anything like me, I remember the first time I went to a retreat or two it's like what you're describing. I felt like it wasn't for me. I felt like, I'm good. I don't need that. And just through a lot of, just talking about, these inflection points, through a lot of, personal trauma, through a lot of talking to a lot of the right people, I've really kind of come full circle on this topic and how important it is and how underplayed. I think it's how we started the show. It's how
Mhm.
underplayed, because it's not sexy. It doesn't
Right.
sell, and it's hard to, like, even as a coach, it's hard to sell life coaching. So a lot of people just don't do it. But most of the most successful people would tell you it's the most important thing. It's the most important part.
And that mastermind and to Think and Grow Rich's definition, the book by Napoleon Hill that references Andrew Carnegie's version and Henry Ford's version of a mastermind. They said that that's where their power came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great to have a good coach. But when you said network, there is such value in network and sitting in a room with folks and creating that item in the middle of the room. If you have a carriage and it's drawn by horses, if you put one horse in front of it, it goes certain speed. But if you put multiple horses in front of it, horsepower, it goes faster, right? So this thing that gets created in the middle of the room, and I'm not sure your beliefs, whether you think Holy Spirit or creative imagination or infinite intelligence, or all different names for what a lot of people believe the same thing. This thing can solve problems faster. Those life experiences can create plans that are better, and it can extract that thing that you a lot of times are having a struggle with, that purpose for you. Yeah. So that the network of like-minded folks being there, knowing what you wrote on your paper about where you want to be, mm-hmm. and then holding you to that, saying, this thing that you're talking about, I'm not sure how that fits in what you say is most important to you. What you say is where you're going. There's not a lack of choices in the world. And what they can help you do is keep you steered on the right path.
Yeah. We've got a special link that you can go to right now in the description of this video. Click on that link. It'll take you right to the page where you can get registered for this event. I'm going to be there. My great friend Chuck Bauman's going to be there. Obviously, Mr. Jonathan Brazer is going to be there as well. Anything that we've been talking about today, you've made it this far, definitely click on that link. We'd love to see you in St. Louis on October 27th, 28th, and 29th in just a month. We're talking about, little
it's coming up and we're super excited. I can tell you that all of my speakers, they've done this before, and so I'm asking you to help your game too, because what they're all telling me is that they're putting in the back work to make sure that they deliver better than they ever have for anybody else. So they're working way ahead of time on what they're going to be sharing with you so that they can blow your socks off and help you to really achieve the things that you're there for. There's a lot of seekers out there, and we want to help you to find what you're seeking.
I can't speak for anyone else, but I know I'm preparing something that's super fresh. I speak a lot. I'm preparing something that's fresh, that's based on a book that's coming out about the same exact time, that I've only shared kind of snippets of this stuff and really kind of tying it in with some stuff that, Chuck has shared with me. And I'll just give you a little snippet now. Chuck told me literally just the other day, maybe a week ago, he's like, Brian, I remember the first time I met you and my heart broke for you. I knew you were broken inside and I didn't know how to articulate that. It probably wasn't my place to anyway, but I knew you were in a broken place. And I want to share, it's interesting he says that now, because I was. There's no way I would have admitted that at that moment, because I didn't know. I couldn't see it. I was in it. And just, I want to talk a little bit about that journey, what that looks like, and how hopefully, maybe I was put here. Maybe some of my purpose is I was put here to save marriages. I was put here on this earth to keep families together and keep fathers from being able to, hopefully to be able to see their children, things that are just, we take for granted sometimes, that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, Jonathan, that are so lost.
Brother,
and they're lost.
I heard a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Well, I just want to say this one last sentence, and they're lost because they think they know, they think they've got it all under control. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. It's more out of control. The more control we think we have, the more out of control it actually is. Jonathan,
I would say get there. You won't be disappointed. We're putting together quite a event for you. And I can say that the people that we've amassed, all they care about is helping you to become the best version of yourself, whether it's you want to accelerate your business to get there, or whether you got some internal things that you need to work on to be a better version of what you can be. But
for
we
sure.
want you to live up to your possibilities.
Jonathan, thank you, man. I appreciate your time. And guys, we're going to see you next time on the REI Live podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. We're going to talk to you soon.